Well, as the link that I've attached to this blog post will attest, my friends at Compliance 360 have done it again. They've enhanced their software offering, which is, by my reasoning, probably the best I've seen in helping with compliance, healthcare compliance, and accreditation issues, so that users of the software can now address Medicare claims audits. As many of you know, CMS piloted a program in 2005 to help recover improper claims money totaled in the billions each year. And that RAC, or RAC program, Recovery Audit Contractor Program, was so successful in its pilot phase, it's now going online, fully implemented over the next year, starting in February and fully implemented in 2010. So there's going to be an increasing demand for the ability for Medicare contractors to work with CMS as CMS audits claims against the Medicare program. So this new solution is yet another tool in the Compliance 360 workplace, and it's probably worth just telling you a little bit about how I came across this company. They're not paying me to say this, but I thought I'd let you know about it. I first encountered them when I was a URAC auditor, when I was Chief Operating Officer and General Counsel at URAC, and in that capacity I was a reviewer for URAC as well. And they, under a previous name, they served as a platform for some companies to submit their accreditation applications to URAC online rather than in the old paper format about 7 years ago. And it was a terrific system back then, obviously a much more primitive version of what they have now. A few years later, about 5 years ago, one of my larger clients, a 50-state company that had both HMOs and PPOs across the country, asked me to do a compliance audit for them. What I noticed was that their regulatory environment was so complicated they didn't even bother tracking all of the laws and regulations that applied to them. I asked them back in 2003, do you have a sense, how do you keep track of the state regulations that apply to a PPO or an HMO? And they said, we don't. There's simply too many. It's in the thousands. We have no idea, so we simply try to manage things as best we can, putting out fires when they spring up. Well, this seemed like not a very good way to do compliance to me, and so I suggested that they ought to see if there's a software solution to manage this complex regulatory environment in which they operated. And so they asked me to do a soup to nuts search for the best possible software. And once again, in 2003, I came across what by then had been come to call, the name had been changed to be Compliance 360. And so I recommended Compliance 360 to them, and they still use it to this day. And they can now tell me exactly how many state laws and regulations. It was 30,000, as it turned out, just at the state level, not even including the federal laws that applied to them as well. So Compliance 360 keeps popping up in my life, and I've developed a friendship over the years since we now have overlapping clients. I always recommend their software to my clients who are trying to figure out how to navigate a complicated world. And I've done a case study for them recently that has helped me to have a better understanding of the various components in the new Compliance 360. But just as I think I'm getting familiar with what they have to offer, they upgrade the product even more. And this claims audit addition to the software looks like it's going to be a real boon to those Medicare contractors that are going to inevitably be going through the RAC process over the next several years. So I wanted to introduce you all to them. You can follow the links from the blog post if you're interested in finding out about them. Again, I'm not being paid to say this, but I thought many of you will find this software solution useful as you deal not just with the RAC issues, but as you deal with accreditation and general compliance issues.